Hello, guys. I hope you all are having a good time. And today we all have gathered for a very informative webinar, which is basically named as Breaking Barriers in Research, and is organized by Empower AD Pakistan. So, Empower AD Pakistan is basically a youth led organization, and it's dedicated to advancing equality and access to educational opportunities for students like us, for students like you. Our missions revolves around three core goals, and the first one is to counsel students to help them make informed academic and career choices. The second one is to connect them with opportunities, and while the third one is to create new opportunities to bridge existing gaps in access and exposure. So, through our exposure, which includes research initiatives and career talks, we strive to empower the students all across Pakistan to discover their potential and to pursue their goal with confidence. So, and especially in today's research, in today's session, which is part of our ongoing effort to bring real world experiences and practical insights to students, exploring their academic and professional paths so they can make well informed choices. And we're really, really thrilled to be joined by Abeer Asif, who is a PhD candidate at Worcester Polytechnic Institute and also a Fullbright scholarship recipient. And she has such an inspiring journey from a self proclaimed backbencher to becoming a top performing student and finally earning one of the world's prestigious scholarships. So, in this session, we will be diving into her journey from being a backbencher and to a topper and also a scholarship recipient. We'll also talk about how she chose biotechnology despite the uncertainty around the field. And we'll also talk about how she made the most of her out of her undergraduate research, from reviews and papers to challenging the academic norms around her. And last but not least, she'll also be discussing how the research challenges she faced and how she overcame them. So we really, really hope that this discussion will motivate and guide you all in your own respective paths. And so without any further ado, we formally invite Abeer to formally introduce herself as well as to begin this session. So yeah.
Assalamualaikum. So thank you for the lovely intro and from the entire Empower team for making this happen. And thank you for the people who are attending because I know it's Sunday night in Pakistan and I'm pretty sure everybody's sleepy and tired. So I hope I make it interesting. So my talk is going to be about setting yourself up for success based on my personal experiences and what I think I would have benefited if someone had told me initially. And so I know that a lot of you were curious about my background and my educational journey so far. So that's what I'm going to start with. So let's start with around O-level, A-levels time. At that time, I did not study. I wasn't the best student. And I think I had C's or D's, and I didn't really feel like I could do anything with my grades or my life as such. And so during the O2 exams, that was the first time when I was like, okay, this is a pretty big exam. It's pretty expensive. Let me try to lock in and try studying for the first time. And at that point, I had so many questions because I had no idea about what I was doing or what the chapter titled in chemistry, organic chemistry or something meant. And so I would ask a lot of my classmates and a lot of my teachers, and eventually that's most of what I would be doing. And I would call it Goli Wali Mehnat because it's kind of like you can't do more than that, even if someone had a gun to your head or something. Weird concept, but that's kind of what I came up with. So at that point, I would just be revising my notes when I was, traveling to and fro, and then just had this entire web of sticky notes on my wall which I would revise every night before I went to sleep. And then I was just studying, eating, and that's most of what I was doing at that stage. And somehow I got like good grades, and um, I topped my batch. And then after that, like in O levels and A levels, I ended up getting 100% scholarship from my school. Um, so that was the first time when I thought, oh wow, I can also do something worthwhile. Um, and then just wanted to check in. Is this recording?
Yeah, it's being recorded.
Oh, okay. I think I saw something. So at that time, I got, the scholarship, I got the grades, and then I was trying to apply internationally, but I hadn't spent that time doing stuff other than studies, so I didn't have like a foundation in social work or leadership skills or stuff that I'll discuss with you that I think are crucial to getting a scholarship abroad. And so I applied to like 15 schools internationally. I got accepted into 12 of them. I did have scholarships from some of them too, but I was unable to secure the amount of funding that I needed to, get move abroad or just like have that entire experience. And so I started applying to Pakistani universities, and I got accepted into LUMS, University of Lahore, stuff like that, and also FC College. And since I had a merit-based scholarship for FCCU, that's where I decided to pursue my undergrad in biotechnology. And I picked biotechnology because it's biology, but I didn't want medical side of things. And so I picked something that was kind of broad enough that it would cover a lot of things in biology while also letting me focus in on what I wanted to do. So that was my entire reasoning behind biotech. And during that time, like in O levels and A levels, in the end, I kind of realized the importance of pursuing extracurriculars. And so but at that time, I didn't have the people to do those things with. And so in undergrad, I did this outside my university. So I just started doing the activities I really wanted to do abroad in Pakistan. And that's where I found my circle. So I did a lot of extracurricular or social work at that time. So this is a picture of me cycling or doing social work. And around 2021, I started research in FCCU. And in FC, the way things work for research is that people get research opportunities based on their GPA. And so I had that in mind. So I tried to get a good GPA from the start. And so in 2021, I started my research. Along with that, I also tried to learn how to write papers and write review papers. And after a year's worth of effort, a year later, like I completed the review paper and a year's worth of trying to publish it. I got my review paper, which is the comparison of Su420, and basically we were comparing spike proteins in different Su420 variants, and that was pretty good. It has 16 citations so far, and it was my first experience in writing review papers, and it got published in a good journal, so I was surprised by that. And apart from that, I also started working with Khwarizmi Science Society. A lot of you must be familiar with it, but that was an amazing opportunity to like improve my confidence because I was not the type of person who was confident speaking up. In fact, I would hate speaking up. I would hate being social. That's my cat in the background. Sorry about that. Um, so at that time, KSS really gave me the confidence to start interacting with people, like sharing what I knew in science and, moving on from there. And at this time, when I was about to graduate, wrapping up my research, I actually opened my junk folder and I found the Fullbright scholarship letter, and I was the principal candidate. So I got 100% scholarship, which was, I was very grateful for it, but it had a year of processing time. And so during that time, I worked with KSS, I worked with my professor on trying to publish more research papers or just help out with stuff. And also during that time I worked on Upwork, which is an online platform where you can build up clients and stuff and like work with them. So I helped a company in Florida to kind of find and look for research papers that found supplements that would help in cancer therapy and stuff. So my Fulbright scholarship journey started in 2023. So I went to the US. It was my first time moving away from home. I did a lot of research work, and somehow that research accumulated in me presenting at an international conference, which was again a really cool opportunity. Oops. um, Anyways, around that time, my professor kind of suggested that I try giving my qualifying exams. So for master's students, you just have a thesis defense, but she suggested that I shift to a non-thesis based master's while using that research for my PhD application. And so I had to give my qualifying exams, and if I would pass, and I would get the PhD offer. So I decided to go for it. And on April 30th, I passed my qualifying exams and I got the fully funded PhD offer. And my graduation was around May 15th, so like 15 days after I passed. It was pretty tense time. And that's currently what I'm doing. I'm a PhD candidate at Worcester Polytechnic, which is near Boston. Um, and yeah, I do research work. I'm a research assistant over there. And apart from my journey, I also wanted to highlight a few other females. Like, these are some of the females in science that I've come across recently that have been so amazing. Like, you might know Lala Rook. So she is the CEO and founder of Science Views. And if you look at her LinkedIn, it says 9 years in running, which is insane to me. Like, that requires a lot of dedication to be running something for that long with so much focus and so much love. And she is the nicest person ever. I would really recommend you guys check her Instagram or platforms out. The second person I came across was Dr. Sarah Qureshi, and she was an aerospace. She is an aerospace engineer and a hobby pilot. So she did a part-time flying school, and she was able to get a pilot license and whatnot. And she's also CEO of the Pakistan's first commercial engine and aircraft research and development company. That's something very rare. So she started in like an engineering background and male-dominated field, and she was able to build something and is still doing it. Like, it's pretty inspiring. And the third person I recently came across was Dr. Mahira Abdulghani, who is a material scientist, and her story is just amazing. She started from UET and then ended up with the Erasmus scholarship going to Germany and France. And then after that, she got a fully funded PhD offer in Cambridge in UK. And she became the first female Pakistani material scientist to graduate from Cambridge. And now she also has a social initiative in Pakistan, and she won like a 50,000 grant with Nature Awards for inspiring women in science. And that's like, wow, like all these amazing people, they have a few things that I was thinking about their journeys, and they have a few things in common. And those are consistency, focus, and quality. Each of these people have been very focused in what they do. They've been consistent. They've been doing it for a long time. And they've been focusing on quality over quantity or like views or, I don't know, something materialistic that we often think would lead us better results. And to add to that, this is something my professor actually says. So my professor in WPI, I asked her once when we went to that conference, do you ever feel anxious that if you don't have enough funding at any given point, you will, not be able to pay the lab or anything? And she said, I'm sorry about the cat. She said that I do feel anxious, and some days it really gives me a lot of anxiety, but I try not to think of it as I need to think to get the grant. I try to think of it as I need to do interesting, cool science. And once I do that, I will automatically get the grant. So, like, changing the perspective to improving the quality and the work that you do. And so that's what I want to shift my focus to, is that you can build yourself up to the people you look up to. And I'm going to be using this comic. So it says, every decision you make, from what you eat to what you do with your time tonight, turns you into who you are tomorrow and the day after that. So look at who you want to be and start sculpting yourself into that person. And with that in mind, I have assembled like a few things that you would need to build yourself up into a good candidate wherever you want to go. Because I know that a lot of you are starting undergrads or A-level students. And so this is my version of how you can build yourself up for success. Um, so let's break it down and go factor by factor. The first part I'm going to talk about is grades and learning. I initially just wrote grades, but I was like, learning is something that you cannot, separate. Grades is not the only important thing. You need to be learning what you do too. So CGPA isn't everything, but it is the foundation. So if you have a bad CGPA, you can recover from that, but it's really hard. And I would encourage you to just like try to keep a good CGPA at like the foundation, and then anything else you build or do is on top of that. But don't compromise the main foundation for everything else. It needs to be balanced, and you need to have your priorities straight. And if you can, some universities are liberal arts colleges. Choose classes based on your career aspirations. So this is the advice that an international office staff member gave me. They said that if your degree and your courses and then your research is kind of aligned with whatever you want to do next. For example, if you're taking a degree in biology and if you want to go into a master's with, I don't know, neuroscience, if you pick the courses that kind of highlight that you're getting ready for that neuroscience degree or neuroscience position, you would be at more of an advantage than people who just take classes generally without having a future goal in mind. Also, class participation is key. Make sure your teachers know you. There's a saying that make relationships before you actually need them. I'll cover them later on too. But make sure your teachers know you, because these teachers are going to not only grade you, but they're going to be giving you your recommendation letter. So you don't want to be contacting them a year later and they're like, wait, who are you again? Or like just putting your name in a template, which is very general and doesn't benefit anybody. So make sure to participate in class actively, make sure to be social, make sure to visit your teacher time to time. If you have any good questions, then explore the topic that they teach you. And learning over passing. Work hard on your assignments and projects. I know that it's very easy to get a project made from, I don't know, markets, or just copy it off your friends or something. But the more you do that, the more you're sacrificing your own future, your own intellect, and your own learning process. And that brings me to use AI sparingly. I've used AI. I use AI a lot, but you need to be very careful when you use AI, because too much of that and you're losing the cognitive ability that's going to prepare you for your future. So just try to remember to give yourself enough time to actually learn the thing and have enough time to do your final project, just so that you don't have to use AI because you're panicking and you have no time left. And the second aspect that I'm going to be talking about is visibility and networking. So this was my quote from the previous slide, which is build relationships before you meet them. Network with your classmates. You don't seem to, I mean, I didn't at least realize this before, but your classmates may be your future peers in the field. So don't just stick to one group. At least say hello, or, ask about someone else's day. Just try to network with people too, because they are essentially the people who are going to be in your workforce. And it's really essential that you develop that relation with them before, not in a materialistic or I need something from you way, but just in a way that expands your opportunities and your horizons. Again, build a relation with your professor. They will be your mentors into the real world, not just for your grades or your recommendation letters, but when you're struggling in your job or something, they will be mentors for you. And I've had some amazing professors, and I still keep in touch with them even after like 4 or 5 years. So it's very crucial that you keep that in mind and boost your visibility on LinkedIn or Instagram through valuable content. Um, so I know that sometimes LinkedIn feels fake or Instagram feels a little bit too public, but if you build your relation, I'm sorry about her, if you build the relation you need before you actually need that platform, it will be a lot more beneficial. I just started being active on LinkedIn and it's already given me so many opportunities that I can't even begin to talk about them. And one of my really successful friends told me that you really need to focus on building a network because you won't even know when you need it. You will just share it to one person, that person will share it to another person, and then somewhere down the line to help you, and that has helped him too. And so, really work on establishing your own brand or your own platform before you actually need it. And it's okay if you're not very social or you're shy in front of the camera or something. Everyone starts with steps, so you can find your steps. And they can be really small steps, but just start because over time you will improve in your confidence. And participate in relevant virtual conferences or talks. I remember that one of the questions that somebody asked me was, how do I improve my international connections? This is how you do it. You check stuff on LinkedIn or through conversations, and you join those virtual conferences. You connect with those people, and then you are now connected to their network and what they do. And lastly, consistent small actions or motivational bursts. Don't let it be something you do January 1st to January 15th, and then the rest of the year you don't do it at all. Try to start with the smallest possible step that you can do and try to do it consistently. It could be posting once a month if once a week is too much or daily is too much. Don't try to follow someone else's path if you know you can't do it consistently. And then seek opportunities, participate, and connect, because that is the most important point, and that will lead to the most amount of growth outside your university and outside your direct classes. So, pro tip would be, to polish your LinkedIn profile. Now, this is Alex Danis. You can look her up. She's also amazing. So, just to look at her profile, she has an engaging background, and then she has a clear profile picture. Her name's right there. She has a very clear, concise headline. And you can see her work background. It's not overly filled. Even her about page is engaging and focused. It doesn't have anything extra where you have to press like see more. I mean, that's fine as long as you can get people to click that, but try to make it focused and engaging. And I probably need to work on my LinkedIn profile too, but this is a good tip for both of us. And asking for help or connecting. You will be surprised at how willing people are to help, but the way you ask them for help is also very important. So, a good example is this is someone who reached out to me, and I loved how she asked because she introduced herself and then she showed that she was asking a question that was relevant to me. She's not just spamming like 100 people with the same question, and she has a clear question, and she's kind and shows basic manners instead of being rude or abrupt or just like demanding the other person to help you, without being considerate that they may also have a life and they may also be busy. Now, I also have a bad example. It's just, I need your recipe. No introduction, no context, no follow up. Even after I asked this person to, maybe share the questions that they may have, that's it. I received absolutely no follow up. The recording has started. Okay. So going back to the bad example, there was no introduction, no context, and no follow up. And I would love to help this person, but I wasn't given the opportunity, or this person never followed up with me. So try to follow example number one if you're trying to ask for help on LinkedIn or Instagram or, just on email. So the third part of this thing is going to be hobbies and social work. I really believe that it helps you not only discover yourself but also build yourself up for future, I don't know, employers or scholarship staff, administrative people who monitor your applications and stuff. So hobbies help you discover your passions about yourself. If you don't pursue, like, this is something my professor once said, is that if there are multiple dishes and if you don't try those dishes, you will never know what dishes are your favorite. And so to know about yourself, you really need to push yourself to try different things. And then the second point is I get to do this instead of I have to do this. So I know a lot of people are constantly in, just the regret of, oh, I wish I could do this instead of this, or it would have been so much better if I had this opportunity, like, that my friend does or something. But know that something you have is a blessing for someone else. So try to focus on that and try to make the most of wherever you are at this point in your life. And then the third point is the giving back mindset. Show that you contribute to community, and that is very important for scholarships. So it not only builds skills and confidence and networking abilities and leadership abilities, but it also shows scholarships that you are involved in your community and you give back to things, or you spread your knowledge. And that, for example, for Fulbright, that's pretty critical. They want to see that you will benefit your community because this scholarship is based on them training you and then you giving back to their uh, community in terms of cultural enrichment, but you also going back and giving back to Pakistan. So some scholarships that focus on community engagement really want to see you have hobbies and do social work and, do stuff for community. Some examples of that maybe, and you can start it right now too, is maybe volunteer at charity foundations near you, or teach at a school, or just volunteer every Saturday to teach low income children and help with their homeworks or something, or participate in education foundations near you, like Parsmi Science Society or Science Fuse or Scientia magazine, or even Winsai Pakistan or Teach for Pakistan. There is a lot if you start looking. And in fact, this one, like this talk, you could also volunteer with the management over here. And then if you don't have the ability to go somewhere, then you can also volunteer in online programs, just anything to kind of help your community, give back to your country, and be open with it. So you can not only inspire yourself and but also inspire others, because there's this thing where if you have quality work and if you give, you will automatically receive. And that's what I've personally seen, and it's been a huge blessing and something I hope to keep on doing. And the next thing I'm going to be covering is leadership. So again, skills and learning is more critical over participation certificate. Uh, so don't just try to accumulate a big folder of certificates. It doesn't matter at all if you haven't transformed as a person and you don't have the skills and learning to maybe show those things have mattered to you at all. And the second point is focused efforts over distributed participation. This is something I learned after quite a lot of years. I thought, just participating and getting a lot of certificates may be useful, but people who have focused efforts, like you could take Tanvir right now, he is working on this goal and has been doing it for some time now. And so he has focused efforts instead of volunteering in like 10 different organizations. So find a goal that you're passionate about, try to find a solution, and be a change maker. And a leading role is much better than an attending role, but attending is definitely better than doing nothing and just sleeping. So do what you can, but try to make it in a way that is personalized to you instead of what other people seem to be doing. So some examples may be start a book club in your university. So I participate in organizing the Women in STEM book club, or you could start a volunteer drive and teach in a school or lead a workshop. So science experiments or engineering a toy, just anything to kind of bridge that gap between people who have privilege versus people who can't afford that sort of education. And you're bridging that gap by providing that opportunity for free. And then maybe starting your own personal art cafe meetup would sound so different, right? And you might be putting yourself out there, but you can do it. Just invite strangers over, meet up in a cafe, do something you're passionate about together, or even start an awareness campaign. Again, the key for all of this is consistency. Um, and something I learned the hard way is your people or your target audience do exist, but you need to go out of your way to find them. So this is something that I learned from a person I once talked to, and this person was a world traveler. So he traveled all around the world, and I was like, wow, where do you even meet such people? And he said something pretty deep, in my opinion. He said that if I stayed at home, I would have never found those people. It's only because I headed out that I found those people, and this became a new norm for me. And so, whatever you want to do or whatever you want to see people doing, you need to be the first to do it. You will automatically then find those people. And I know that sometimes these things might come off as like, oh, is someone being too nerdy about things, or who will join me? There will be nobody interested in a STEM book club or something. So I kind of have this example to show you that it is possible and you can do it. So this is my the book club that I work with, and this is us promoting cycling. So we took cycles all the way to Murray, and we're promoting cycling for not only for climate change but female empowerment. And we went out in huge groups. So it's Ashiana Cycling Club, in case someone was wondering. And then we would also like get games and food and go to an orphanage on like a random Saturday, and just it would be a very enriching experience just to see those kids happy. But it would also build our personality up, so it would be a win-win situation.
Hello. Hello.
And then this was a cafe crochet event. This was a pretty cool opportunity. I did this recently because this idea came to me, and I was like, but who will attend? And then I was like, wait, if I start, maybe people will attend. So this is a mix of people I know and then people I don't know, and we just met up in a cafe and learned crochet. And personally, I do not know how to crochet, so I kind of learned for that. Uh, is Khizra trying to say something? Okay, so moving on to the next slide, we have steps in field. So this is something that the Fulbright, when I had my Fulbright interview, they asked me this because they want to know that with the resources that you currently have, you're still doing something you're passionate towards. You're not just waiting for them to give you a scholarship in like molecular biology. You start taking steps. And so some of the examples may be that you take action over excuses. If you are in science, and I can only give you science examples because I am, in biology and stuff, maybe try participating in internships. And this is something that I wish somebody had told me, that in the summer and winter breaks, you are supposed to participate in internships. This is not something that I was told, and I actually came here and I saw undergrads, and they are always ready with an internship planned for the summer or winter. And it's like a regular part of their career development that we don't emphasize enough in Pakistan. So definitely focus on using your summer and winters wisely. And then maybe, becoming an editor or a writer with Scientia magazine. They're also pretty amazing. Or being a science demonstrator at Quarterly Science Society, or teach with Science Fuse at a local school, or help mentor young children and engage in scientific interest or engagement, or volunteer at labs or research facilities. So all of these things increase your chances of going where you want to go. And they show that you made the most out of what you have. And so if you are given an opportunity, you will be the sort of person who makes the most out of what they're given. So that would really help you stand out. And some pro tips on how to do research and stuff, because I know a lot of people have been curious about that. research opportunities are not very easily accessible, but they are if you plan ahead. And so I would split this section into three components, which is understanding what to do in the lab, expanding on your knowledge outside the lab, and then benefiting from the lab experience. So the first component, understanding what to do in the lab.
Sorry, Abhi, can you please unmute yourself? All right.
Okay, so was it unmuted this entire time? I hope not.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was.
Oh, it was unmuted? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it was unmuted. I just muted to change the settings.
Okay, that's perfect.
All right.
So the first component, understanding what to do in the lab or expectations. You should know that whatever other people are doing is not the norm. You can set your own norm. If other people are just being careless and, playing games in the lab or not actually seriously doing the work they need to be doing or using their work time productively, you know that you can change that norm. You don't have to live up to what they're doing and follow through with it. So regular meetings with your advisor. This is something that is very common over here, and it was common with my advisor in Pakistan too. So try to get regular meetings with your advisor. This shows that the advisor knows what you're doing, you know what you're supposed to be doing, and you're making regular progress that is being monitored. And some labs actually have this. So this is just to set your expectations of what a lab, a research environment may hold and what it if it doesn't have that, then what you need to do to compensate for it. So some labs have weekly or monthly discussions of papers. My lab does that. So we have a paper every week. We discuss different figures in that paper. We discuss whether those research methodologies were appropriate for their outcome or their conclusions and kind of think about it critically. And this is something that undergrads start from really early on over here, but this is not something I learned to do as well as I can do it right now. So there's a huge gap in that sort of teaching. So definitely try to supplement that by yourself. And your seniors are a good guide. Sometimes you may not get the best seniors, but ideally, a senior is supposed to guide you about the techniques you're supposed to use and how you're supposed to get yourself acclimated in that new lab environment. And just like overall, they're supposed to be like your mini advisor to help you and answer all the questions that you may not directly want to go to your advisor for. And then a lab notebook is critical. You need to know that when you're doing research, if something goes wrong, they can consult your lab notebook for any details or any proof that, oh, you did an experiment at that time. But also, it's critical for you to be able to do something. If your senior teaches you how to do qPCR, for example, if you're just listening, I can guarantee that you cannot retain all of the information that they give you. It is impossible with the amount of information we're given every single day. So have a lab notebook, write your date, write your protocol, write where the reagents are kept, the catalog number for the reagents in case you find something that's commonly labeled but have different catalog numbers, and experimental details. So like what temperature did you use, what voltage did you use, or how much time was it on the vortex machine. So all of these details ensure that you won't have to ask people again. You can follow that protocol with precision the next time around. And any of the problems that come up, write those in your lab notebook because you can go back to it and see what went wrong so that when you're troubleshooting, you can then come to a better solution, I guess. And then experimental guidelines, previous students, protocols.io, or research papers. This is pretty helpful. So previous students may have the protocols in their thesis, or there's this website which gives you different protocols for different uh, experiments. So that is pretty useful. And then research papers are also a good guide. When I joined the lab, I was told to find a protocol for something, and me and my friend we just YouTubed it because that was what we knew at that time. But there are a lot more better resources out there, and YouTube does not give the sort of guidelines you need to perform an experiment. Again, so it's a good guide, but it can't replace literature. So expanding your knowledge outside the lab will teach you a lot, but you also need to keep on expanding your knowledge. And this is what my professor over here says a lot, is that a week of reading can save years of wasted time in the lab or something. Because when you read, you know what the research topic is, you know what where the gaps are, you know what other people have done. And so some people might think that in Pakistan research isn't, really high quality or stuff, but I really believe that if you have the basic protocols or reagents to do basic protocols, you can, if you ask the right questions, you really can find the solutions you need to that will actually enrich the literature and be able to compete with international journals and international research. So that is pretty important for you to do. And then we have the notion that reading papers must be something that people do pretty easily, but it's not. It takes a lot of time. So choose your keywords and designate time, or maybe find a reading partner who can help you um, make consistent progress on your reading of research papers. But just know that when I started, it took me like 5 to 6 hours to try to go through a paper, and still it was so hard. And it's normal. I just want you to know that it's normal not to know what they're talking about, because it's hard jargon. You don't know what the methodologies are. You don't know what the figures mean at all. So just linking everything together takes time. But through that effort, you will slowly improve, and you will slowly get faster, and you will slowly get better at what you do. But without that mental effort, you cannot. And the saddest thing is that our classes don't have that push in undergrad. So you're going to have to push yourself to do that regularly. Nobody else is going to push you for that. Again, don't excessively use ChatGPT. You will lose critical thinking skills. I will show you how you can use ChatGPT to kind of get a good paper summary that will help you, guide you through your reading. But know that too much ChatGPT will wreck your critical thinking skills and will make you slower in the long run. So I was using ChatGPT a lot to, analyze paper and get the data out of it, and I could get it faster. But then I was losing the ability to read the paper in, the actual words. So I had to take a step back, and now I can read it faster. So just be careful. And take courses your university may not offer on Coursera or online courses. So I had a friend who, he signed up for the biotech program, but we didn't have a neuroscience relevant course. And so he supplemented that by taking online courses on like Coursera to show his next university or next workplace that he is proficient in what he wants to do, like has the background to pursue what he wants to do. And then learn how to write well. This is again a skill that not a lot of universities in Pakistan will have classes for, or nobody will teach you this. But platforms where you can learn, like Multi-omics Pakistan, or you can practice writing a review paper. And this platform just gives you a lot of people you can write with, and they help you develop the topic that you want to research on, or you want to write a review paper on. So that really helps with the essential training that you need, initially at least. And then learn how to cite. So there's programs like EndNote or Mendeley. You can note these down because they will be helpful. Don't just write number one and then write a reference down there. It's so much more easier if you use EndNote. Just import the paper into EndNote directly as a reference and insert it through Word, and it just coordinates it for you. When you're using 5 papers that you cited, it's fine to just do it directly. But if you've gone up to 100 papers, it will save you a lot of time and tears to just use one of these programs. So they have APA or Vancouver. These might seem like weird words to you, but they're citation styles. So how it shows up in the paper, you know how they write 1 bracket in brackets or 2 in brackets, something like that. And again, learn how to read papers. I already covered this. So for that, I will show you how to look for papers, because that's again something I didn't know, and I wish someone had just told me. So, for example, I want to look at centromeres and epigenetic regulation. If you don't know what that means, it's perfectly fine. But what I'm doing over here is I go to a website called Google Scholar and I can write centromeres and epigenetic. Now, whatever I search will have both centromeres and um, so centromeres and epigenetic, then again centromeres and epigenetic in the paper itself. And you can organize this according to the dates released. You can organize this according to the relevance versus timeline. And you can also get regular papers or studies versus review articles. Review articles just summarize all the research so far, and it really depends on the understanding of the reviewer. So if you have to cite something, I would definitely recommend using research papers, but review papers are really awesome in gaining that understanding you need to understand your topic. So definitely, if you're starting, start with a review article. So reading for a paper, when you're new to a field, this is kind of the order you read it in. Normally, when you read a book, you read it from start to finish, but that's different for papers. One thing that I really want you to know that took me on hard like a long time to learn is that you don't need to read everything. Just select the paper which is relevant by reading the introduction or skimming through the paper and then deciding, okay, this is the paper I want to read in more detail. Then spend time on it instead of reading everything. And an introduction will definitely help a beginner understand. Most people skip the introduction once they're very familiar with the topics, but if you're a beginner in that topic, it's a very nice thing to be reading, and it's critical to expand your overall knowledge. And again, review papers over research papers for initial reading, but research papers over review papers for citations. And ChatGPT can help, but do not overuse it. That is a slippery slope, and you do not want to be going down that slope when this is the critical learning phase. So you know how people complain about AI taking their job? One, if you use AI, if you learn how to use AI well, AI will not be taking your job or whatever. But the main thing is AI, instead of taking our jobs, we're giving our jobs away to AI because we've stopped using our brains. And so the thing that made us intelligent as human beings, we're losing that if we overuse AI. Again, you can collect papers along the notes. This will come really handy when you're writing your thesis. Write a short summary about the papers you read, collect those papers along with the years and keywords. And when you're writing your thesis, it will make things so much easier if you have a summary. Again, if you're an A-level student, this is like a huge jump in things you need to know. So you can always take screenshots, come back to it later. But just to show you how you can ask ChatGPT. So here I've attached a PDF and I've asked it to summarize this figure by figure, which figure having a conclusion title and a bullet point for each of its subparts. So now it'll tell me why they did this, what the result was, and what that meant. And I added this point, like make sure to address any details that are unclear that a layman wouldn't know. So very rough. You can see that I was just trying to get it done with. But for example, over here in figure 2, it has figure 2b. It says what technique they used, what they're testing, why they're using this technique, what the results are, and what the meaning they've interpreted from that thing. And so it's really helpful if you keep that alongside the figure and you kind of try to understand both things and how they relate. Very useful to start out, but don't get dependent on it. And this is how I organize my papers on Notion. So I have the dates I've read them on, along with the paper itself, along with the keywords. So now it will help me find the papers that I need when I need them without having to look through Google Scholar again. It's a pretty important move that nobody teaches you to do early on. And benefiting from a lab experience. So understand the what, why, and how in your experiments. Don't just don't just run a gel for the sake of running a gel. Know why you're using what reagent. Like when you're running a gel, which band is supposed to be higher up, which band is supposed to be lower, and why it's that way. because that will make you be able to not only interpret your results better, but also troubleshoot if something goes wrong. And also be more confident about what you know. So if you have, imposter syndrome and people talk about that, but the more you know, you'll feel a little bit more confident about the technique and you'll be able to tell whether it was a reagent's fault or if it was your technique's fault because you know what the experiment is that you're doing. And then try to make your time productive and be proactive in the lab. Again, set your own threshold of what it means to have like a normal research experience and try to work on that. Research, review papers, self-learning. This is pretty important. So whatever topic your lab is working on, try to read papers around that. Try to read the papers that your professor has published, and people who are currently really active in your field, what they're doing, what their discoveries are. This will help you decide the direction of your research and how you can do it better. And then socialize with friends, but keep lab time separate. That is very hard to do initially, and you don't want to offend people, but that's a critical skill to be able to learn. Because if you socialize endlessly, or if you just put others before yourself, before your work, you're not going to be able to do what you need to do in time. And prepare in advance and plan expectations and timelines with your advisor. This is very important to ensure that you have a productive time in whatever time you have in the lab. And do not fake results or participate in research misconduct. Be honest with your work. If you fake a result for like a review paper or research paper, it will backfire in the future. So you never want to be in that position, or you never want to be desperate enough to do that because, again, quality, consistency, focus leads to a better outcome than fake results ever do. So the last slide for today is going to be on goals and time management. So this is a hamster who is having a busy day, and this is one that's having a productive day. So you can clearly see the difference. This hamster is running around in circles while this one is actually progressing. So with, it being the era of tech and everything, it's very easy to equate being online all the time, being very active, or just having a lot of filler tasks as being productive, but it's actually just being busy. You need to pick your priorities and pick things in terms of how important they are to you, what their impact would be, and how much you want them, and schedule them. Use your time wisely, and these are the three things I often tell my brother and my siblings and stuff too, that be reliable, be consistent, and be on time. That's something that we lack as a Pakistani community, being on time, but it's very important because if you're not on time, you know what that shows the other person? It shows that you do not value their time and you value your time more than theirs, which is a very wrong place to be in. So let's just respect everybody's time and try to prioritize and be there when we've promised we're going to be there. And schedule things in your calendar. If I showed you my calendar right now, you'd be surprised at how blocked off it is, but it actually leads to a lot of relief because now I know that I'm going to be at that time. If I know that I have this meeting at like 10:30 a.m., I'm going to be there at 10:30. So that gives me a lot of calm because I know that my day is productive based on what I put into my schedule. And I don't overbook because that's just lying to yourself. But this way you can get more done with the time that you have and also have your own separate time to relax or hang out with friends or family. And actively seek opportunities from Instagram, LinkedIn, or conversations even. Sometimes we get really bogged up by classes or just like exams and stuff, but try to take out time, like maybe 1 hour of your day to have a time where you actually look for opportunities. Don't just doom scroll on LinkedIn or Insta or whatever, because that doesn't lead to a lot of positive feelings. Try to actively look for opportunities that are relevant for you and apply and just jump, because sometimes you might be surprised of what people believe you can do when you don't even believe that. Like this infrared thing, I asked to give the talk, and they were like, okay, let's have you on board. So this was me reaching out and getting an opportunity to do that and getting the opportunity to help people. So don't underestimate the power of reaching out and actively seeking opportunities. It matters a lot. And network, that is really crucial. And I mentioned it like a ton of times here. And you must have noticed that a lot of points were interconnected, but I've tried to separate them a bit. But networking, again, it's a point that ranges across the different foundations, and it's pretty crucial. And think out of the box. Don't be afraid to be you. If you like, I don't know, nerdy stuff or sciencey stuff, or just like you have a thing that you're like, okay, this would be cool if you had that, but nobody else is doing that. It wouldn't be very awkward. Don't do that. Try to be you because everybody else is taken. So push yourself and do what you want to see happen in society, and you'll be surprised at how many people you find who want to join you on that. And that brings me to the end of my talk. This is my LinkedIn in case you have any further questions. And these are some additional resources, some of my Fulbright scholarship experiences as an international student. And then I have a talk with a friend that I did on our journeys in science. And then I have um, interviews from, Mahir Abdulani or Sarah Qureshi and stuff that I think you would find interesting. So yeah, thank you for listening and being patient through it all. If you have any questions, we can go over them right now.
Okay, so I have a question. So how early you think one should start preparing and start researching about scholarships and resources?
Mm-hmm. I think if you casually keep on doing it, it's going to be beneficial for you instead of doing it in the end. But what is very critical for you to know that scholarships take time. So when I applied in May, I believe, of the year before I was about to graduate, it took them a whole year for them to process my application. So if you're going to graduate in May, make sure that a year before that, you have the GRE or the TOEFL or whatever you need to get those applications done. Um, because in August of the year before you graduate, this is a bit confusing, but just remember the August of the previous year before you graduate. So, like 1 year before you graduate, make sure you start applying to scholarships. You have the TOEFL, you have the GRE. Don't wait till the last moment because that doesn't help anyone. And don't delay in getting the GRE or TOEFL. I know it's hard because everybody else is doing research or internships or classes and midterms and finals, and you're also adding GRE on top of that. That's like crazy hard. But if you don't do that, then you won't be able to apply to those scholarships. And then it would take you a whole year before the scholarship applications open and you can apply again. So don't make that mistake. Get the exams you need early on. Maybe get a friend who motivates you. But just push yourself to do that because that will be really helpful.
All right, got it. Okay, so in chat box we have some questions. Okay, the student is asking, I'm in the A levels, and if you can share your A level grades and ECS that you had done in A levels, as I need some guidance in this area.
What was the last part? I can also check myself.
If you, yeah, you can check it in the chat box.
I have a question. I'm in A levels. Can you share your level grades and what's ECS? I think no one's trying to speak. So my O level grades were 5 A stars and 3 A's, and my A level kind of dropped, but they were enough to still give me confidence. So it was 2A and 1B. Yeah, I'm not sure what ECAS is though.
Yeah, I guess by ECS you meant like your extracurricular activities.
Oh, okay. So at that point, I really didn't have a lot of extracurricular activities. Because I would wait for my friends to go with me. Like I'd be like, "You want to go to an orphanage? Do some social work?" They'd be like, "Nah, maybe later." So that wasn't good, and that's kind of why I think I wasn't able to get a good enough scholarship. But in the end, I did start organizing scholarship. Organizing visits to the orphanage. I would volunteer in the basketball team, so I was an active player. And my friend and I tried horse riding. But again, not a lot of extracurriculars that you would expect. And if you have them in the A levels, that's really amazing. It just took me a little bit of time to grow past that stage. And if you are in a place similar to where I was, it's perfectly fine too. You have enough time to go where you want to go.
Thank you so much, Abir. So we have another question. She has like recently graduated from bachelor's, and she is basically seeking your guidance to um uh, and what to really pursue in her master's. So can you please like help her? She has stated her interests in food technology, computational biology, and industrial biotechnology. So
Okay.
yeah,
And she wants to decide what to do for her master's, right?
yeah.
I think I would encourage you to focus on not only the scope, but also what you want to be doing in the future. And I can't tell that about to you, but I would recommend going to people who are already in your field, either actually in labs and stuff or industry, or finding them on LinkedIn, asking them about what your field is like, along with